Hello and welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute-a-day podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse, recorded here in the dining room of the Bible Bistro, located in Sharonville, Ohio. Hey there, friend. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro. I'm so glad that you have joined me today because, this week we have such a wonderful psalm to study, Psalm 79. Now, Psalm 79 is very much like Psalm 74. You remember in Psalm 74, which was a longer psalm, I think we did that one in 2 weeks. This one is only 13 verses, so we're going to do it all this week. Psalm 74, I entitled that psalm, Ground Level View of God's Judgment, because it was the perspective of the psalmist looking at the destruction that was taking place. But in that psalm, in 74, it was particularly the temple that he was talking about. The heathen had gone into the sanctuary with their axes, and they had cut down the carved images and the carvings and the things, and then they had thrown fire into the sanctuary, and it was just the desolation of God's place of worship. Here, in 79, we have another ground level view of God's judgment, but this concerns the city of Jerusalem. So in 74, it's a ground level view of God's judgment on the destruction of the temple. Here in 79, it's a ground level view of God's judgment about the city of Jerusalem. This is another psalm this is a psalm of Asaph, and that's all we're told. This is just another one of his psalms. So 74 was a psalm of Asaph, because remember, this little section of Asaph's writings begins in 73 and goes all the way to 83. So this is a psalm of Asaph, and that's all we're told about it. This is also, as you're thinking about, the judgment of God against Jerusalem, you can also think about Lamentations chapter 5, for example. Actually, all of the book of Lamentations, but there's so much in chapter 5 of Lamentations that compares nicely to the subject in this psalm. So we come to, and it has similar portions. It has a complaint section, it has a request section, and we end with a word of praise. And then there are so many connections to other psalms and to other places in the scripture that we're just going to take our time with this one as well. We're going to try to hit my 5-minute mark, but there's going to be so much to go over. I don't know if we'll make it every day. So let me read for us now. Psalm 79, beginning in verse 1. O God, the heathen are come into thine inheritance. Thy holy temple they have defiled. They have laid Jerusalem on heaps. The dead bodies of thy servants they have given to be meat unto the fowls of the heaven. The flesh of thy saints unto the beasts of the earth. Their blood they have shed like water round about Jerusalem, and there was none to bury them. So you see, the complaint begins with, again, this is the ground level view. So he's looking at the heaps of bodies, the temple destroyed, the city ruined, the dead bodies are given to the fowls and to the beasts of the earth, the blood shed like water. So there's just blood everywhere and bodies lying around with no one to bury them. So the complaint is real. And it is something that, like I said, we've seen in other places. I mentioned Lamentations. Let me just go back to Lamentations real quick. Chapter 5. Chapter 5, verse 1. Remember, O Lord, what has come upon us. Consider and behold our reproach. Our inheritance is turned to strangers. Our houses to aliens. We are orphans and fatherless. Our mothers are widows. We have drunken our water for money. Our wood is sold unto us. Our necks are under persecution. We labor and we have no rest. Go down to, verse 11. They ravish the women in Zion, the maids in the cities of Jerusalem. Princes are hanged up by their hand. The faces of elders are not honored. They took the young men to grind. The children fell under the wood. The elders have ceased from the gate. The young men and their music. So you see the destruction that is mentioned there. It's something like what we have here in Psalm 79. This is probably around the same period that we have this psalm written about the same period as is experienced in Jeremiah's lamentation. So the complaint begins, and we're going to continue the complaint tomorrow as we look at verses 4 through 6. So I hope you'll join me then here on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. For more fresh and delicious Bible studies, podcasts, books, and more, check out the Bible Bistro online and on YouTube. Join me again next time for Daily Dose Radio.